everybody! Welcome to the first Friday of 2022. 2022. That's a lot of twos, folks. I'm Mike DiLisio, and I am thrilled to be here with you today for a Q&A, a live Q&A. We've been doing a number of these all week here on the Dice Tower. Hopefully you have enjoyed these, and you know, I have to try to meet the standards that have been set before me. It's going to be a lofty goal, I can tell you. It's been really cool seeing everyone responding so well to the Q&As from Roy and Wendy and Camilla and even Chris, I think, had some good comments on there. So thrilled to be here. Looking forward to answering some questions and saying hello to the folks in the chat. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The best live chat in the board game industry, hands down. Hands down. And also, I'm going to remind you, because I feel contractually obligated, we've got a Kickstarter coming up. Tuesday, the 11th. We are pretty much consumed with it here right now in the studio. And so we really are hoping that you are excited about what we have been producing this year and what we hope to produce next year. And we're excited to kind of show you what we've come up with. So keep that definitely on the forefront of your minds if you would. We definitely appreciate that support. So let me get my old man specs on. Here we go. I've got to do the elaborate, because I need to be able to see these questions that we have. So let me scroll back up, and I'm assuming I don't see anything saying anything about sound or vision, so I guess we're good on that front. So let's take a look and see what we have here as far as questions go. We've got a lot of people saying hello to each other. As I said, we've got the best chat in the business. All right, so starting off, Genway, let me move. I'm going to move stuff around that you guys can't really see because it gets in my way. Here we go. Will you be doing any solo playthroughs this year? Well, I would love to. I'm going to change something here. I'm going to make these questions come out white. Does that work? Yeah, I think it's a little easier to read. Will you be doing any solo playthroughs this year? It's to be determined. It's definitely something that I am hoping to do. I'd love to do some live solo playthroughs on the channel. It's something that I have always enjoyed doing, and I'd love to do them here on the Dice Tower as well. And we'll see. All I'll say is to be determined. It's something that we are looking into. All right. Anthony, what is your signature dish to cook? I don't know that I have a signature dish. I have certain dishes that I like to cook, and certain dishes that I feel like I do pretty well, I suppose. To be honest, I do cook, but the things that I like cooking are these kind of big elaborate things, and you don't do that very often. So of those, I would say I really do like my lasagna. I've talked about that, I think, a little bit before. I think make a decent lasagna. I tend to go with a meatless lasagna, but if I do want to put meat in there, it's going to be with Italian sausage. And I am not a fan of ricotta cheese or ricotta cheese. And so what I do, just because it suits my tastes better, is I replace ricotta cheese with mascarpone cheese, mix it with a little bit of egg and chive, and it's delicious. I also do like chicken Parmesan. I like to cook that as well. I like to eat it more, but I also like to cook it. Vanessa, did you ever rock a mullet back in the day? I'm not sure. Well, I am sure. No, I never rocked a mullet back in the day. But I'm wondering where this question. Do I look like a mullet guy? Maybe I do. Maybe I look like I was back in the height. I would say, in my opinion, that the height of the mullet era was with Billy Ray Cyrus, right? Achy Breaky Heart. That was when the mullet was at its peak mullet popularity. And no, I did not rock a mullet back in the day. I did have longer hair, but I didn't do the business in the front, party in the back thing. I just kind of did a standard longer hair. Good morning, Mike. How do you break the bad news to people that National Treasure is a Nick Cage movie and not a Mike DiLisio biopic? I don't know where the National Treasure thing came from. I find it humorous, but I don't know exactly where they came from. Now, National Treasure, though, that's a good movie. That's a good popcorn flick. I like National Treasure. I think that's a movie that has actually aged well, I think. It's not one that you are going to look at as being like, I don't know. It's kind of silly and it's over the top, but I really feel like it has the right tone, and I think it has a little bit of tongue-in-cheekness that works really well for it. I like National Treasure. Ludwison asks, hi Mike, what do you think about Unfathomable board game? Now, I have not played Unfathomable, and I'm going to go one step further. I actually have not played Battlestar Galactica. That's one of the kind of holes, I guess, in my gaming circle, whatever you would call that. I haven't played it, not because I'm not interested. I think that it would be a cool experience. I was able to see a fair amount of the live playthrough that we had during our Winter Spectacular, and it looked interesting. You know, it's long. It's certainly one of those experience games where you're going to have to make sure that you set time aside to play it. But I would definitely play it, and I think there was even, I'm not sure if there was talk of doing I don't know. I'll certainly keep my eyes open for it, but it's something you have to really plan for and make sure you have the time to do it. But it looks interesting. I don't really know that I care one way or the other about the theme change. I was fine with the Battlestar Galactica theme. I'm fine with the Cthulhu theme. Either way, it works for me. Ken asks, would you want to see Penn and Teller at Dice Tower West? So Dice Tower West is going to be at the fantastic Rio Hotel and Casino Resort, and I believe that's the home of Penn and Teller. I'd love to see Penn and Teller. I have not seen that show. I know some of the people here at the Dice Tower have seen that show before, maybe even more than once. I have not seen it, so I would certainly be down to see Penn and Teller, the Penn and Teller show. Now, if you're talking about actually having Penn and Teller come to the convention, I don't know. That would be pretty cool, but I don't know if they're gamers. I don't know. But I would like to see the show. They're very talented magicians. That was a long pause there. All right. Joseph, this was a question I believe you asked. Maybe Roy. It's a good question. I like this question. Favorite non-Dice Tower convention to go to, and what do you love about it? Well, I would have to say, and I think I'm giving the same answer as Roy if I remember what he said, I'm going with Gen Con because for so many years that was kind of my home convention. I had lived in Indianapolis, Indiana for many, many years. Actually, it's where I moved to South Florida from, it was Indianapolis. And so I have a lot of fond memories of going to Gen Cons. It also has kind of that experience, the big con experience. So I guess there are different things that I like about gaming conventions. And so, you know, not to sound too much like a shill, but my favorite conventions, all told, if you can include them, are things like the Dice Tower Retreat, because that is just such a great gaming atmosphere, and it's really all about getting together with people with a shared love of games and gaming in a relaxed environment. That's one reason I like cons. And so for those cons, I'm going to cheat a little bit and say Dice Tower Retreat or the cruise. But for non-Dice Tower, I'm looking at something like Gen Con, where it's just, you've got the massive amount of people watching too. And the thing that I always liked about Gen Con was there's something really neat about being in and I know right now it's hard to think about this, but there's something cool about being in a large group of people that all share a love for something that so much of the time in your life is considered to be a niche thing. Most often in your life, you'll tell somebody you like board games and they really don't have any kind of a real connection to that outside of maybe the games they played growing up, which are fine. They're still board games, but not kind of this deep entrenched love of the hobby. And then you get to a place like Gen Con and you see tens of thousands of people that all share this love and this passion, and you have a shared language, and that's really cool. And so that's why I think Gen Con would be that. Now, I'd love to get to Essen and kind of have a similar, big experiential feel. But in Europe, I'd love to go to UKGE just to kind of get the different cultural elements as well, and to kind of reinforce this idea of board gaming being a truly international hobby. So that's what I think for that one. James asks, what's your favorite game to play with the other folks at the Dice Tower? If it's all right with you, James, I'm gonna go a little bit broader with this answer. If you wanted me to pick a specific game, it would be harder. But I had said coming into working at the Dice Tower that I'm not a big party gamer, that I don't really like playing party games, and that was true. But more and more as time goes on, I'm not sure that I can really say that about myself anymore, because the times that I've played party games with people here at the Dice Tower, whether it's actually people in the studio that you know and see, or people that have come to like maybe our local gaming events or game days, have been so much fun, and it kind of has opened my eyes to what party games can be. So I'm not saying that I haven't been in other game groups where, they are fun or anything like that. That's not true. It's just those game groups that I was in were primarily focused on Euro games. That just happened to be most of the games that we got played at those game groups. So I hadn't had much exposure to party games with other people that really like them. So my eyes have opened up a little bit. So I love playing silly party games with people here at the Dice Tower. You've seen some of them if you've watched our spectaculars. We've had some really fun, just kind of usually they're just, we just will play them for 15, 20 minutes at a time, move on to another ridiculous party game, 15, 20 minutes. That's a lot of fun. I had a tough time finding 2021 games due to shipping or limited supply. Do you think the people's top 10 might be affected more by that this year than usual? Well, I think the short answer is yes. It might. It certainly might. I don't think that that's going to necessarily affect the validity or the quality of the People's Choice list, because there's so many great games that get released. I mean, if you're asking, will it mean that maybe certain games that were released at the very end of the year may be less likely to make it on the list? Potentially. But you could pick 2-3 months out of a year and probably come up with a decent top 10 list, in my opinion. We just have such an influx of great games that I don't think that it's hard to come up with a list of 10. It certainly wasn't for me. If anything, I had a hard time paring things down. Now, I know that might not be everyone's situation. You may not have a chance to play as many games, especially this year or last year. I get that 100%. But I don't think it's going to make a huge impact, but it might affect it a little bit. Hannah asks, hi Mike. Creature Comforts on your anticipated list last year is coming soon, I believe. Are you still looking forward to it? I have my name for pre-order at my FLGS. Yeah, very much still looking forward to it. I got the email as a backer, as a Kickstarter backer, saying, hey, they're coming. I think they've already been offloaded from the boats. Maybe going through customs, maybe going through processing. I can't remember exactly what the last update said, but I think it was yesterday I got the email, and you may have seen it too, Hannah. Yeah, very much looking forward to it. Kids Table board games, I've really, really been impressed with what they've done. I love the look of that game. I love the theme of it. Very, very much looking forward to it. Excited to hopefully be playing it soon. So. Tell me, is it worth the $35 shipping for Bad Company? Look, these questions are really hard for me to answer. I mean, there's too many variables in play. I mean, everyone's situation is individual, and value judgments are hard to make. And so I wouldn't want to tell you. I guess what I would say is, if you really are considering it, do as much research as you possibly can. I mean, we've had playthroughs here. I'm sure there are many other videos out there. Read the rule book. You know, as gamers, we have so many resources at our disposal that we could take advantage of. I mean, you can go on to Board Game Geek and read I'm sure there are many comments on there about people who have played it, and you know, just soak up as much information as you can, and then you have to make a value judgment on whether you think it's worth it to get it now or in the near future, or to wait a little bit longer when it might be more readily available and less expensive. So I hope that's the best I can do on that question, Bonnie. Sorry. Tribal Tiger asks, will the top 100 of this year be split up between the two teams? Absolutely, yes. The top 100 is going to be the A team, and I think we're calling it the Z team now. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be a scene, man. It's going to be a scene. Let me tell you, I just put the finishing touches on my list yesterday, as a matter of fact, and so. That's going to be fun. It's a daunting task, but it's a lot of fun. Are you planning on playing more solo during 2022? Tough to say. You know, I had mentioned kind of in the preamble of my top solo games of the year video that I played a little bit fewer solo games in 2021 than I had in previous years. And there were a number of reasons for that, not because I have any less of an interest in solo gaming or anything along those lines. It just is kind of how it worked on a practical level. So it's hard for me to kind of try to predict how 2022 is going to play out. I'm sure that we're going to have a great slate of solo games. There's already a number that I'm aware of that are going to be released that I'm looking forward to. I think the short answer is probably, I don't know. I don't have, the short answer is I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. However, to throw back to an earlier question, if I start doing solo playthroughs, then the answer is probably yes. What are your thoughts on Talonvale? My thoughts are, I'm not sure what you're asking about. I feel like maybe this is something I should be aware of. Talonvale. Yeah, sorry, I don't know what Talonvale is. Chris Thomason, what are your thoughts on My Father's Work? Well, I haven't done a lot of research into it. It's not one that I backed. However, a couple of things. I think that the aesthetic of it is pretty darn cool. I like the aesthetic of it. I like the theme of it. The components certainly look nice. I am hopeful that it's good. I hope I get a chance to check it out. If it comes through the studio, I'm definitely interested in giving it a play at least. So I don't, I haven't read the rules. I haven't done a whole lot of research on it, but what little kind of preliminary stuff I've done, it's interesting looking. I'm intrigued. How about that? I'm intrigued. Dan Sturza asks, what's your favorite and least favorite English foods? I'm assuming British. I have limited knowledge of British foods, English foods. I ate certain foods while I was in the UK a couple of years back, few years back. I was a big fan of Yorkshire pudding. That was so good. It's basically like a savory pancake batter that is puffed up, and then you put some delicious gravy over it, and usually it's served with roast, and oh man, it was good. Also though, okay, I will say that's gonna be my second choice. The best thing that I ate in the UK was a steak pie that was brought from a local. Was it a farm? I think it was a farm that my friend Flavian went to, and I went to the UK to go to this little kind of mini gaming convention that Dan Hughes, who you may be aware of, threw. And Flavian brought these pies, and there were different types. There was a steak one, there was a chicken one, and I ate a metric ton of these. They were so good. Oh my gosh, it was great. Least favorite. The least favorite I didn't eat. As part of the traditional English breakfast, you have baked beans. I'm not a fan of baked beans, so I didn't eat those. But I did try the black pudding. It wasn't terrible, but I'm sure not going to go out of my way to eat it again. So that would probably be my choice there. Sam T asks, "Hi Mike, was wondering if you prefer Vengeance as a solo game or a competitive game. I was also wondering if you backed the Director's Cut expansion. Keep up the great work." Well, first of all, thank you, Sam. And this is a good question. I'm glad that you asked it. I do prefer it as a solo game or as a two-player game, because I think at the larger player counts, there's probably an unacceptable amount of downtime. Because when you go into those dens and have your kind of dice puzzle, which is my favorite part of the game, that and the theme, other people are don't have a lot to do. And so that's why I think it shines as a solo or two-player game. I do love it at those player counts. I did not back the Director's Cut expansion, and I'm kind of wondering why I didn't back the Director's Cut expansion. Because although, to be fair, there's plenty of content in the base box of Vengeance. I don't really feel like let me take that back. My impulse buyer part of my personality, which is usually pretty front and center, is wondering why I didn't back it. My rational mind is saying I probably made the right call, because I've got plenty of content right there in the base box of Vengeance. I don't need a whole lot of other stuff. Especially with my kind of gaming lifestyle, where I don't get a chance to play even the games I love as often as I probably could or should, or I don't know, whatever. I play a lot of games, and so it doesn't make sense to have more content than I need for a game when I feel like the base is plenty of content. So I do like the game quite a bit, mostly a solo and two-player. Sean, this is great, because I didn't see this question when I said that I finalized my top 100 yesterday. But there was another part of your question. If so, anything that surprised you about the updated list? I know you can't share specifics. There were a couple of surprises, Sean, and I will keep them vague so as not to spoil things, because I already get plenty of grief here at the Dice Tower Studios about spoiling lists, even amongst ourselves. Got the peanut gallery again. Couple of surprises. One is that this year I was much more organized. I guess in previous years I didn't have kind of the stats as much, and so this year I had last year's list to compare it to, and so I was able to track risers and fallers. There were a couple of big rises and drops that surprised me, that's just how they worked out. There were a couple of games that are new to the list that are not new games that I was like, yeah, it was not a new game, but it was new to me. And so there were a couple of new to me games that made it onto my list. So that was a little bit surprising as well. Do you ever miss teaching? This is a hard question to answer. There are aspects of teaching that I miss. I don't miss it overall, though. The time was right for me to move on, is how I'm going to answer that, kind of as a high-level answer. Because I think teaching is a profession, and I've mentioned this before, so I won't belabor it, but teaching is a profession where you have to be all in. If you're not, you probably should find another profession, because you impact too many people to not be in it 100%. That's not unique to that profession. I would assume, I can only speak to teaching because that's the one that I was in, but I would assume something like nursing or law enforcement or, jobs where you potentially impact a lot of people. If you're burnt out, if you're not into it, and if you can find another line of work, it may be the best bet. And so I felt like I was not there yet with teaching. I wasn't to the point where I felt like I wasn't giving it all I had, and I wasn't burnt out yet, but the signs were there. So give us a little scoop about the Kickstarter. All right, here we go. Here's where I reveal all the secrets of the Kickstarter. Are you ready? It's going to be fantastic. I mean, we've been giving you little scoops, actually. I mean, if you have not yet been kind of following the Dice Tower Facebook page and you want to get some sneak peeks, you should do that, because we've already been dribbling and little bits of information have been going out as far as some promos that might show up, as far as the theme of the Kickstarter this year. So some of these things are out there. Also, if you didn't get a chance to watch our Pirate Board Game Breakfast yesterday, we did a little sneak peek of the creation of one of these promos. That was a lot of fun. So if you didn't get a chance to check that out, I would recommend that. It's only like a minute and a half. So there's a couple of little scoops out there, but I don't know that I feel comfortable with the boss so nearby at giving any other secrets.
Tell them Viscounts, I guess.
What about it?
Well, we got promos for that, I guess.
Oh, here's a scoop coming right from Tom Vassell. We've got promos coming from Viscounts of the West Kingdom. Love that game, and so I'm very much looking forward to that promo on a personal level. There's a scoop for you. Jason, do you think Furnace will surprise you again this year? That's a low blow, Jason. That's a low blow. Also, number one on my surprises list this year. All right. Let's see here. James says, Mike, recently listened to your 5 games for Doomsday interview. Was very good and very interesting. Thank you. It's easy to be interesting on that show because Ben is a fantastic interviewer, Ben Maddox, who also does a series of videos here on the Dice Tower. He's so good that Tom snatched him up and had him come on to the channel, and he does a series of videos called Design Notes with game designers. A bunch of fantastic ones have already gone up. I think the most recent one is with Phil Walker Harding, and so if you have not checked those out, you absolutely should check those out because he's a great interviewer and he has some great guests on. He also had me on, so he's not afraid to slum it every once in a while. But yeah, Ben is great, and I appreciate that you enjoyed it. But he makes it easy. Metanik, or Metanik. Hey Mike, love your reviews, thank you. What solo game have you been playing a lot of lately? If not, what games in general? I've been playing a lot of Final Girl because I like it so much. It was my #1 solo game of the year. Also, it plays pretty quickly. It's it's quick to set up and tear down. Let's see, I've been playing the Gutenberg solo here recently to check that one out, and those are the two that pop to mind. But I know I've been playing a lot of Final Girl. David asks, given your love of history, have you visited Gettysburg? I didn't. As much as I do enjoy history, and I was a history teacher for a number of years, I'm ashamed to say that there's a lot of historical sites, specifically American historical sites that I have not visited. And I'd like to. I've never been to D.C. For that matter. I've not been to Washington D.C., so I haven't been to the Washington Monument or the Lincoln Memorial or the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. So many that I would love to visit someday, but I just have not yet. It's interesting because at the high school I taught at, they would do those field trips every year, but I was never on those field trips because that was something that the department head did. She had done it for many years. She had it down pat, so she did it, and I never had a chance to go on those. So haven't visited Gettysburg. There's a lot of historical sites I need to. Ben's Google asks, do you limit the amount of simultaneous campaigns that you have going on at once? I find it hard to keep more than 1 to 2 fresh in my mind at any one time. So I'm not, if I misunderstand your question, I apologize, but I'm going to assume you mean campaign games that have campaigns or things along those lines. And if that's the case, then the answer is yes. I usually will be sticking to one at a time. Because I'm with you, I kind of lose track and lose steam. And so usually if I'm playing a campaign style game, I'm playing that one. Or a legacy game, same way. When I was doing something like the Fenris, Rise of Fenris campaign, that was the only game I was playing in a campaign style. Or Sleeping Gods, I played that straight through, things along those lines. So yeah, I know some people can do that, but I tend to stick to just one at a time, maybe 2 at the most. Genway asks, what's your favorite type of music? It's hard to kind of classify it. I like kind of the more, aggressive rock and industrial and punk. That's what I grew up with, and that's still what I tend to gravitate towards, although I worked in a music store for many, many, many years, and so I'd like to think that I've been exposed at least to a lot of different types of music, and I have an appreciation for a lot of different types of music, but I find myself kind of going back to the rock and metal and industrial and punk that I grew up with. That's still what kind of hits me on a visceral level. Oh my gosh, I'm afraid I'm way far back on questions, so I'm going to try to go more quickly here. Trevor! First of all, thank you very much for the kind words. You were in that game of mind management at the retreat. That is awesome. That was a lot of fun. That was the first time that I got to play as the recruiter in mind management. So this is a one versus many hidden movement game. Fantastic. It's now my favorite in this genre. And so yeah, I taught it at the last Dice Tower retreat, and Trevor was one of those rogue agents who were trying to find me, and they were unsuccessful, although it was very, very close. Very close. You're very welcome. It was my pleasure. Legitimately, it was my pleasure, Trevor. That was a lot of fun. What are you most looking forward to with regards to the Dice Tower Kickstarter next week? Well, it's hard to answer this because there's a mixture of emotions, and I'm sure even more so with other people here at the Dice Tower. There's anticipation, there's excitement, there's anxiety, there's all of these emotions because it's such a big deal. It's such a big part of what we want to do here at the Dice Tower. So I guess the short answer, and maybe a bit of a cheat, but the thing I'm most looking forward to is just seeing how people react to all of the things that we've got planned, all of the things that we want to do. I feel like, I can't be objective in this, but I feel like we really try to give good content, consistent content, and content that we feel like is a reflective of our strengths and what people think we do well. And so I'm just looking forward to people seeing what we have planned. And I'm being very vague, but I feel like I have to. Is there a Mike is wrong video in the works? Yes. I'm not going to be. I don't know the order of these things, but that's something that's definitely planned at some point. I think the issue with this one is that there is so much material that they're having to bring in extra people. We're having to bring in contractors to sift through the hours and hours of video where I am wrong. Unfortunately, I've already created a treasure trove of material in the short time that I've been here. Let's see. Have you ever thought about designing your own board game? I think I've answered this, so I'm going to keep it brief before, but I've thought about it. I've messed around very, very little in like very rough prototypes. It's not something that I have devoted the amount of time that I would need to really take it much further than just brainstorming. It would be cool, but it's not something that I'm interested in enough that I have devoted the amount of time it would be necessary to do it. So maybe. Ah, that's refreshing. A cool top 10 for you guys to do would be 10 popular games you never want to play. That is an interesting top 10. Yeah, I like that idea. Charles, hey Mike, have you seen all the new Final Girl Season 2 expansions coming to Kickstarter next Tuesday? It looks great. I've seen, I don't know if I've seen everything, but I've seen kind of what the preview stuff has been out there. It looks awesome. I'm 100% in. I'm on board. I'm very excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. Will you do a solo review of Cloudspire? I'm questioning myself here. I thought I had done one. I thought I had done a solo review of Cloudspire. I can't check that right now, though. If I have not already done one, it's fantastic as a solo game. I'll do a mini review right now. It has a very high learning curve. It is a lifestyle type game. It is not something to pick up, get on the table quickly, play, put away. You've got to really devote the time. If you do devote the time, it is an incredibly rich and rewarding solo experience. That would be my thumbnail review, but I thought I reviewed it. I thought I reviewed it as a solo game. Could be wrong, though. Suggestion, top 10 most exciting upcoming solo games. That's a good suggestion. Certainly possible. I'm going to try to go through some more of these a little more quickly. I feel really bad if I don't get to a lot of them. Are you a sports enthusiast? Any favorite teams? I am a sports enthusiast. I think by far the biggest sports fan here at the Dice Tower. Football, I am a Miami Dolphins fan. Unfortunately, last Sunday they were eliminated from the playoffs. They had a very up and down season, but I'm a Dolphins fan, and that's been painful for much of my lifetime being a Dolphins fan, at least since Marino left. Baseball, I'm a fan of the Dodgers and of the Cubs. Hockey, I'm a fan of the Blackhawks, although I got to tell you, I'm intrigued to see where the Seattle Kraken go. First of all, I love the city of Seattle, and I love that mascot. So I'm going to keep my eyes open for them. Basketball, I'm a Lakers fan. So there you go. Soccer, Juventus, Serie A of the Italian league. I'm glad, Daniel, you brought this up. You recently mentioned after playing Maglev Metro that you weren't drawn into many of Bezier games. Have you played Whistle Mountain? I have. I like Whistle Mountain quite a bit. For some reason, when I said that, this game didn't come to mind. I like Whistle Mountain. I wasn't a huge fan of Whistle Stop. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. Whistle Mountain is a really good game. I like that quite a bit. So now there's another one you can add to the stable of Bezier games. And again, it's not like they're a bad publisher. They have very, very many popular games. Just many of them bounce off of me personally. But Whistle Mountain I like. Maglev Metro I like a lot. Anthony, are you reading any books at the moment? I am. I'm reading a book that is going to really bother me because I cannot think of the title of it. It's by Jonathan Franzen. Oh, what's it called? I can't remember. But I'm reading a book by Jonathan Franzen right now. Rob Thomas asks, where do you buy your massive asterisks? Do you get a discount for the amount the Dice Tower get through? I don't. I really need to look into getting this in bulk, because we've been buying them one at a time, and you're really the bang for the buck is not there. We need to get these in bulk because there are a whole lot of asterisks to go around here. A lot of shenanigans. Mason says, I just picked up Cinque Terre. Can you run down your thoughts on each player count? I tell you the truth, I don't think I've played it at 2, so I can't speak to that. I know I like it at 4. Probably fine at 3. This is if you're not aware, this is a pick up and deliver game. You're going through the 5 villages in Italy. It's a pretty basic pick up and deliver game, but for a number of reasons, it's one of my favorites. I love the look of it. I love how elegant and streamlined it is. It's one of those games that unfortunately has gone out of print, and so it can be a little bit tricky to get a hold of now. I'm glad you got a copy of one, Mason. I don't think I've played it 2-player though, so unfortunately I can't speak to that. And Jason is happy because you got me to say the name of the game. This is very easy to me, Zachary. One must go: cheeseburgers, donuts, sushi, or tacos. And it is a point of great consternation here at the Dice Tower that I am not a fan of seafood. So you can take sushi and launch it into the stratosphere. I do not care. I have no interest in it. Cheeseburgers, fantastic. Donuts, they're delicious. Tacos, you better believe it. Sushi, nah. Okay, here we go. Yes, Gator Dave, it was fun while it lasted. Look, we had a run. 7 in a row. Hi, Mike. Given that you're both a Root fan and a solo gaming enthusiast, and you are neither of those apparently, have you ever looked into trying the coin series? I am vaguely intrigued. I am intimidated. I'll put it to you that way. I don't want to look into learning them myself. If someone knew it very well, and I think the one that I'm most probably intrigued by would be Cuba Libre. That's the one that I think has the most interest to me, A, because I've heard it's a good entry point, and B, because I think the theme is interesting. But I haven't really gone, enough into it to try to learn one myself. I know that they have a pretty well-regarded bot system that I think it's spreadsheet based, where you kind of flow charts type of a thing. But I'm a little intimidated, to be honest with you. Root is great. And when you have the clockwork bots, I'm good with that as a solo game too, but haven't gone into the coin games yet. I think I've heard you're a metalhead of sorts. What are favorite bands and or genres? Metal is not my favorite. a genre I do enjoy. But if you want to talk specifically about that, probably I like Mastodon. I like what I've heard of Opeth. I just heard the latest Gojira album, and I thought that was really good. If you're talking about old school stuff, I don't know. I'm more into like the punk industrial edge of things, but I do like some of the metal that I've heard. Tom, thanks for representing the solo community so well. Well, thank you for saying that, first of all. What brought you to solo gaming? I'll keep this brief. This was just a situation where I was getting into the board gaming in general, the modern hobby board gaming. I was in that kind of early phase that many of us get into where I was buying games, I was acquiring a lot of games, and I was doing so oftentimes not necessarily even just based on what I thought I would like, but I was like, oh, this person in my gaming group would like this, so I'm going to get that. This person in my gaming group would like that, so I'm going to get this. And so I was finding myself increasingly surrounded by games that weren't getting played as often as I was like, because you couldn't, you can't get your gaming group together as often as you'd like a lot of times. And so I was feeling this anxiety over, I've got a lot of games sitting on these shelves that aren't getting played as much as I feel like they should. And honestly, I just realized that many of them had a player count of 1 to 4, 1 to 5. And I never even considered it when I was buying these games. But I thought, well, what do they mean, 1 to 4, 1 to 5? And I started to explore solo variants, and that's really what got me into it, was just saying, oh, well, I haven't been able to play this game since I bought it because the game group either hasn't chosen it or we haven't gotten together often enough. Let me see if I can figure out how to play it by myself. And that's what did it. Because so many games nowadays come out with solo variants. I wasn't buying them originally with that in mind. It just happened that I had a lot of games on my shelves that had solo variants. And then, as I found that I enjoyed them, that informed my buying decisions, and I was being much more purposeful about buying games with solo variants at that point. Anthony asks, what's your favorite Dice Tower live show to do? This is tough. This is really tough. They all seem to have their charms. I think the bottom line is a good top 10 list is hard to beat. Oftentimes that depends on the topic. They're all fun, but some are just fantastic. But my consistently favorite live show to do is crowd surfing. That's just, I feel like we've kind of found a little groove where even on weeks where maybe, let's say, things are a little bit thin pickings, we've been able to kind of find some fun in that. So I enjoy doing crowd surfing. I enjoy doing shoots and marbles. They all have their own charms. Who are your favorite board game designers? I've got a lot of designers I enjoy. Reiner Knizia, Shem Phillips. See, the problem is when you start doing this, there's going to be a bunch that you leave off. And so this was a dangerous road to go down. But there's a lot of great designers out there. I probably shouldn't even have started that process. I named 2 of them. There are many, many more. So given that your top 100 list last year completely destroyed any remaining stock of Outlive, any games we should buy now before the DiLisio effect kicks in and they sell out? I don't know that that's true. But Outlive was a game that actually was, for a long time, really easy to get a hold of and cheap. I don't remember who brought it over to the States. I think when I got it, it was imported. It's a French company, La Bouteille, who had originally put it out. And then someone brought it over here to the States. I can't remember who. And I remember you could get it for $30, which is a great deal for that game. But it's kind of like Tom says, if a game is popular enough, if there's enough of a demand for it, the publisher is going to bring it out. It'll be out there. But right now, especially with all of the supply chain issues, you just can't count, you know what I mean, on a game necessarily being there right then and there, but it'll eventually come back around. Rock asks, how much are you looking forward to Bard Song and its addition of a bard for Merchant's Cove? So, I believe that you mean Bard. Oh wait, is it called? I didn't think it was called Bard Song. I thought it was called Bardwood Grove or something like that. Either way, whatever the title of it is, I'm very much looking forward to it. And yes, I have to admit, I am excited about a new playable character in Merchant's Cove. The more characters, the better for that. So I'm very much looking forward to it. I backed it on Kickstarter, so hope it's good. Fingers crossed. What's your favorite Pixies album and your favorite Sonic Youth album? My favorite Pixies album is Trompe Le Monde, believe it or not. It's not their most popular album. It's the last album they put out, but it's my favorite. I love that album. I don't think they have a bad album, though. That's one band that I don't think put out a bad album. Favorite Sonic Youth album is a little trickier. I'm probably going to say Murray Street, and then second favorite would be Daydream Nation. Now here's going to be an ironic answer for you. Who is your Dice Tower partner you're going with when choosing a teammate for a party game with guessing involved? Even though we got wrecked, decimated, destroyed in a game show recently, I'm still picking Z Garcia as my partner because we oftentimes think very much alike. We have very much aligned thinking, and so if I have to pick one, it'll be Z, because I think that if we hit a groove, we'd be unstoppable. Although, man, we just got destroyed in that game show. How do you like Bad Company compared to Machikoro and Space Space? I like it better than both. I do like it better than both. Although I like all three. What would some of your must-see things of Indiana be for you? This is tough, Bruce, because while I lived in Indiana for a number of years, I'm not a native Hoosier. I know what things have some kind of special, connections to me, but I don't know that I would suggest that for anybody coming by. Couple of things that come to mind, though, is going to, and this is this is personal. I'm an alumni of Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, and I think that Bloomington. And the Bloomington campus of Indiana University is one of the most beautiful college campuses I've ever seen. And so I would bring people there just to walk through that campus. It is gorgeous. And it kind of fulfills what I think of when I think of kind of classic Midwest American colleges, universities. It's beautiful. I also think that downtown Indianapolis is a beautiful downtown, and specifically the canal. My wife and I walked that canal a number of times. It's a really beautiful area. So that's a couple of things that come to mind. Bruce, I think you're from Indy, so you'd probably be better off answering this question than I would. Gator Dave asks, do you have any tips for someone that is about to start a solo run-through of Sleeping Gods? Tips. I would say do the opposite of what I did. I did it in one marathon session. And if you have the ability to spread it out over, I would say 4 to 5. That's just kind of off the top of my head. That would be my suggestion. I would also suggest, I'm going to kind of piggyback off of something that Tom said, play the easy mode. Play the easy mode, right? This is a game about discovery and exploration. And the combat mechanic is great. The mechanism is really interesting. It's a very cool combat mechanism, but it can be really tough. And to me, the joy in this game is going through that world. And so give yourself a little bit of a break, right? Give yourself a little bit of a chance to explore that world fully, as fully as you can through one session of Sleeping God. So play it on the easy mode. Take your time if you have the ability to, and just enjoy the experience. That would be my suggestion. Will the Dice Tower be reviewing the new Richard Garfield game, The Hunger? I don't know. If we get it, maybe. I don't think it ever came through the studio, so not sure about that. Oh man, I've got Yorkshire pudding and black pudding questions. These are so far back. Sorry guys. I know do I do the thing where I go all the way to the bottom? I'm going to do the thing. I'll go all the way to the bottom, see if I can catch some of these here towards the bottom. Clara, you bring up a very good point. Trompe Le Monde is the last album with the original lineup with Kim Deal. I do enjoy, actually. I do like the reunion albums. They're good. They are good. I think they still fit. They're still part of the Pixies canon in my view. But Trompe Le Monde is still my favorite. But you're right. Technically not the last album. Just the last album with the original lineup with Kim Deal. Cami asks, have you played Undaunted Reinforcements solo? No, I haven't yet. I've flipped briefly through the rule book. That's one that I would love to get a chance to if I can. So maybe it might happen. I just haven't had a chance to mess with it yet. But we'll see. We will see. Tom once said to make his top 100 lists, game lists, he writes all the game names on small pieces of paper and sorts them out. How do you do yours? I did a couple of different things. First of all, I kind of did a spreadsheet situation where I had last year's list, and then I added the games from my top 10 of this year. I also kind of went through BGG and just added other lists, and then I put them into what's called the Pub Meeple ranking engine. It's a website that does basically virtually what Tom would do, analog, where he would have note cards or pieces of paper and he would just kind of say, I have these two games, which do I like? At least I think that's kind of how he did it. So that's kind of how I handled it. I went through a multi-step process. Now, I didn't just take that Pub Meeple list and go with that. I went back and I kind of reevaluated it, and I changed a few things, because while I think that's a nice tool, I don't feel like I was comfortable using that as the be-all end-all. But it sped the process up a bit for me. So that's kind of how I handled it. What was your impressions about Merchants of the Dark Road? I hate to do this to you, but I'm going to do this to you. Sunday! We've got our 4 squares review of Merchants of the Dark Road. So check that out, and you'll know my impression, you'll know Tom's impression, you'll know Chris's impression, and you'll know Wendy's impression. As the king of solo gaming, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go, but look, I guess the king doesn't bestow the title upon themselves unless they're a despot. So who am I to, anyway, kidding. Why no love for Arkham Horror LCG? It's a great mix of strategy and storytelling and shines in solo. I have played the Arkham Horror LCG. I cannot disagree with you. It's a great mix of strategy. It's a great mix of strategy and storytelling, and it shines in solo. It's too much for me. The model of the living card game just doesn't work with me very well. I completely acknowledge its strength as a design, and especially as a solo game. It's just not. It doesn't fit my gaming lifestyle. We're getting close, people. We're getting close. I'm just trying to go back and see if there are any other questions. Someone's asking how much garbage I take for not liking seafood in a place with amazing seafood options. A fair amount, and I guess deservedly so. All right, I'm going to try to find one more question here because we're right at an hour. But I'm going to try to find one more question here. Arnak review from me specifically, or because we did an Arnak review. But if you mean a solo review, I think I did a solo review for Arnak too, actually. All right, Mike, do you think Destinies is a good intro game for a newbie? I guess the short answer is no. If you're talking about really somebody that is absolutely new to hobby board games, there are probably better options out there for you, but it's not a terrifically heavy game. It's a medium weight game, but I don't know that I would call that maybe a welcoming game. I think there's, a number of things that might be unfamiliar or uncomfortable to somebody who has not played a lot of hobby board games. So I don't know that I would choose that. There are a lot of others I would pick before that, even if you're talking about games that have storytelling as an element. Even app-assisted games, maybe I can think of some that would be a little bit more of an entry point. So yeah, I don't know that that wouldn't be one I would pick first. So, all right, well, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a joy as always. I love chatting with you. Apologies to, I'm sure, the many, many questions that, good questions, fantastic questions that I couldn't get to. Hopefully you have enjoyed this Q&A, and hopefully you've enjoyed the Q&As all throughout the week. We really love having a chance to interact with you. And again, sorry, I'm going to remind you, please, 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 if you like what we do and can find a way to do so, take a look at our Kickstarter on Tuesday. We are very, very much looking forward to showing you everything that we have on offer, and we hope that you are looking forward to it as well. All right, well, everybody, this is it. Mike DiLisio signing off from Dice Tower headquarters.